At the Guardian offices in London, a very special version of Dragon's Den is taking place. A panel of dragons from the social care field and beyond have agreed to give their verdicts on 8 community projects from across the country that have developed ways of building capacity and social capital in local neighbourhoods. The Den is about sharing stories and innovative ideas that could be rolled out to other areas. The need to build stronger communities is a big focus in the new sector-wide partnership agreement for social care, Think Local, Act Personal.
I'm here because I'm part of a sector-wide partnership now that's looking at how we build an approach to adult social care, which is about community-based support and personalising what we do. So I'm really interested in understanding some of the good practice that's taking place up and down the country, where people are trying to link active citizens with active communities, and thinking about how we use the resources and the assets that sit in communities where people live their lives.
We're going to see presentations from a range of people around the country who are actively involved in building community capacity and ensuring that people in the communities where they live are getting the best possible services in the current financial climate.
I think focusing on what's working well and looking for new ideas keeps people's spirits up at difficult times. It creates energy. Good ideas create energy and enthusiasm, and we need all of that at the moment.
Today I'm hoping I get loads of ideas from other people about how I can take things forward in my own borough.
I think there are a lot of people right now who are scratching their heads about this idea of a big society. What is it? And I think for me it's about people being inspired to step forward and take power and responsibility over their lives. And what I'm hoping today will do 2 things. One, make that real, and secondly, show us some of the practical ways forward that local authorities and other people can take to make this real.
So with chocolate money at stake, 8 organisations, all with varying experience, will try to convince the Dragons that theirs is the best idea. The HELP project is the first up to pitch. This is a community development approach pioneered by former health visitor Hazel Stuteley, OBE. Her method of bringing together citizens and local professionals to build trust, networks and improve services has helped to transform deprived communities across the country.
I see HELP and community development as offering a totally new way of doing business in primary care. In essence, community development protects health, it's preventative, it helps tackle social inequalities, it underpins behaviour change, and it improves the responsiveness of statutory agencies.
Something I think I can do, or we should be doing for you, is the link with social care. And how is the project and the capacity you're building, how could that be linked to individual citizens who live on your estate, who either are getting a personal budget or some support, and finding an interface there?
Second to face the panel of experts is the Friends and Neighbours scheme from Sandwell. The council is working in one ward to engage and encourage people to support each other in the community. They're also looking at how people's own resources in time and personal budgets could be used to complement traditional services and facilities.
We've described Friends and Neighbours as a co-production approach, and this means that if local authorities and partners recognise residents' skills and assets and work to solve problems together, then a whole new set of resources and approaches becomes possible. Friends and Neighbours is creating preventative support for vulnerable residents, which reduces isolation and keeps them outward-facing. But it brings in additional resources and saves resources by building on the strengths of local people.
It's fascinating and has a lot of potential, but as you have alluded to more than once, it is early stages.
Interface the Dragons next is the Help at Home scheme run by Age Concern in Shropshire. A mix of volunteers and paid staff provide practical and emotional support to older people so they can remain living independently in their own homes.
We do that through 3 main mechanisms. One mechanism is through paid home support workers. Those paid workers provide practical help and assistance in the things that the older person can no longer manage. One of the big aspects of living longer is that sometimes you're living on your own longer. And very often older people feel very much isolated when their spouse dies, their partner dies, and they're left with a big gaping hole. That gaping hole is loneliness, and we try and address the loneliness aspect of older people's lives. As a befriending visitor, we recruit volunteers across the county to provide a befriending visitor on a regular basis to older people, just to give them some company, to help them with outings, to help them with shopping. And we also provide a telephone buddy service, which is a way of spreading the volunteering time more economically.
The fact that you're accruing £1.3 million of new benefits in a county like Shropshire with rural poverty against that client base is quite incredible, actually.
It's clear, it's practical, it's a no-brainer, frankly, for local authorities.
Next up are Community Catalysts, a social enterprise supporting micro-providers across the country. That's individuals or very small businesses that provide social care, housing and other services. The Carers Cafe is just one example of how Community Catalysts have helped to get a social enterprise off the ground.
The cafe is run by volunteers, primarily people with a learning disability, older people and people who are long-term unemployed. It has carer surgeries, coffee mornings, counsellor surgeries, drop-in sessions. It's the IT information hub. They also embrace other social and community groups to work from the cafe also.
We're already working in 15 areas, but we want to work everywhere. The aim and ambition of Community Catalyst is to work in every area throughout the country.
As a commissioner, hard-headed commissioner, do I just push the money at Community Catalysts in the hope that something arises from that? I mean, clearly it does, but is it going to be in the mainstream of my business?
In terms of paying us a little bit of money and hoping we work to some very clear service level agreements, and our aim is for you not to need us. So you know, year one, as you'll know from the background document, you'll need us quite a lot. Year two, you won't need us anywhere near as much, and year three, you won't need us at all.
Next up is Spice, who developed time credit schemes to reward people for getting involved in their local communities. Tris Dyson was an inner London teacher before setting up Spice Time Banks in Wales. Tris found he could win over his disengaged teenagers with a popcorn reward system, and he's found the same applies in communities. Residents in Cardiff can get tickets to rugby matches, concerts and free swimming in return for volunteering and helping their neighbours.
This is a low cost, this is a sustainable model that exists in the long term. And there are three ways that we acknowledge participation. One is with spare capacity in private sector businesses. So it's venues, sports venues, cinemas, toilet swimming pool, music venues, that sort of thing. The council open up services for similar reasons, but also because they want to support community engagement and so on. But also, and this is important, no more freebies. So this is around introducing conditionality on some non-essential services. Things like adult learning, when it's provided for free, the take-up is often very poor. The take-up is often very poor because it's free, and you're saying, here, you're poor and you're unemployed, come on this free course. The most important one is made with time in. So people earn credits based on their skills and their interests for organising community events and activities that other people can then access with credits. So it's people organising the bingo night, the dance hall evenings, the community carnivals and so on.
I found your analysis absolutely compelling in terms of the resonance with the agenda around Think Local, that person. Absolutely sits in that place.
Well, that's a hard act to follow, and the chocolates are getting low, but it's the turn of the very experienced Leeds team, who've been promoting and funding the neighbourhood networks for 16 years.
These are older people's projects that are run by older people for older people, and they are staffed by about 5,000 volunteers who are themselves older people, drawn from the communities that those organisations serve.
And there's one really core thing, I think, that, for me, that sums it up. One of the buildings has got a sign as you're going through the front door that says, "Nothing about us without us." And I think when that originally was put up, it was really talk about individual older people and their support and their care and their engagement with care plans. The sort of stuff that's now embedded with sort of personalisation. And they're not just looking at them individually, they're looking at them as a community of older people, bringing their skills, their knowledge, their experience, and crucially their will to bear on us about saying this is what we want within our locality.
I think that you've got an awful lot to offer in terms of the new skill bases for commissioners in the future.
This for me is something about being in the long haul, sustainability, use the word, And I think there was a vision in Leeds some time ago, which you've developed and built on.
Next in are a team from Hartlepool to talk about Connected Care, a community navigator scheme based on a model by Turning Point. Locally based navigators work with people on the ground to find out what services and information people need and to help them through the system.
Moving the power and control, shifting that out closer to communities and away from the local authority in a similar way that personal budgets does with an individual, gives opportunity for people to really access what they want and have it provided in a way that's right for them, not for the local authority.
How do you, in a place like Hartlepool, which is fairly compact in many respects, kind of roll that out? Because I'm interested in how we take a model which I think is fairly well articulated and sold, actually, Connected Care, and really think about how it scales up and builds and flexes.
The way you were able to talk about the value of what is being done as opposed to simply the cost of what's being done was very striking as far as I was concerned.
Last to make an impression on the Dragons are the Active Communities team from Lambeth, who are using the principle of asset transfer to help build capacity in the voluntary sector. I bet none of the Dragons will forget this moment.
In my life and my work, you have been my problem. Your vision, the way you work, how you deal with issues of working with communities, you have been my first kind of line of people that have prevented me from doing my work. So I'd like to start with that part and get that off my chest. The team that you will hear about today is focused around 8 public sector entrepreneurs. They are all deployed in voluntary and community sector projects, working with them, and they're very much business focused. We are a programme-based team. We are not a individual project team. We work to a third sector investment plan that's structured around shopping, investing and giving.
I didn't hear much about the outcomes that either you can already demonstrate or that you intend to demonstrate.
Next summer you will have that organisation in the space of 5 years having grown from having a shopfront premises in Brixton into having a national heritage centre.
The idea of entrepreneurs at the heart of the local authority blows my mind and warms my heart. Yeah.
One of the things I'd like to learn about is the behaviours.
Yeah.
And I think you could tell us a lot about behaviour that actually makes for change, because I think we sometimes get caught up in local government thinking, the public sector thinking there are technical skill sets we don't have. But actually, this is about how you lead, you challenge, you provoke change.
I've got some genuine learning out of it. I guess we all say that, but I have, because I think there are some quite complicated concepts here which we in the media and through us, the wider public, struggle to come to terms with and understand. And I have genuinely learnt more about some of these things, which I hope we will be able to translate for our readers.
We're trying to learn from some very interesting local initiatives, and one of the things that I'm trying to pick out from the presentations and the discussion is what the lessons might be that can be disseminated, can be translated into reproducible messages and so on. I come from a research background and I'm here to see whether we might be able to do some research which would just help to get those messages out.
I've been very impressed with the range of different projects that we've seen and heard from today, the diversity of those and the different approaches that are being adopted in different parts of the country and different types of people that have been involved. So I think that's the thing that's come across to me most strongly, but also that although some attempts have been made to share the learning either in their own immediate area or more widely, there's just so much more of that can be done.